Hi, this is Midge Woods. Thank you for joining us at Spirit at Work. And tonight is one of my most favorite subjects at all, is spiritual cinema. And my friend, Paula Kerr, is the Boise Director of Spiritual Cinema. And we're here to discuss what is spiritual cinema.
Spiritual cinema is a new genre of movies that are happening, and Stephen Simon is behind what's going on with spiritual cinema, and it has become this wonderful project. I started about a year and a half ago as a life coach, gathering people together for the sake of watching movies, and movies with deeper meanings that cause us to think about things that happen in our own lives. And it has just been this project that has taken off like wildfire, and there's been a lot of...
So let's first talk about what is classified as a spiritual cinema. What is a spiritual movie, for instance?
Well, the movies that we're doing ask two questions. Who are we, and why are we here? And so it causes you to go deeper than just entertainment.
Well, I love watching movies, and especially ones that have a deeper meaning, so that I believe that is an incredible vehicle to get information out to people, and also it gives us an experience that we might not have or experience, and then our awareness actually becomes part of the solution rather than the problem. So when you're seeing the problem over here, the solution can be resolved somehow within our mind. So is that basically what we're talking about, is watching movies that have that maybe inside track?
Well, storytelling has been a part of our culture since the beginning of time, when cowboys would get together and sit around the campfire and share stories and pass them down through generations. And so now we're so blessed to live in a day and an age and an era when we can view for $10. We can go to a movie and get this huge message, from the movies that are put out today.
Well, just like what we did this past few weeks was a movie came to town that a few of us knew about, and all of a sudden we had the entire town going to see it, which was What the Bleep.
Right.
And that is a quantum physics movie that deals with kind of a combination of documentary and animation and storytelling, everything all combined into one, but has this powerful, powerful message and insight and knowledge of how our brain actually works. So what kind of things are Stephen Simon doing? I noticed that he, on the back of his book here, The Force is With You, by Stephen Simon, he has some excerpts from Somewhere in Time, which is one of my all-time favorite old movies, which was, about 10, 15 years ago, maybe?
Oh, I think it was in the 70s.
Oh, even farther than that.
Yeah, with Christopher Reeves. And in his book, he actually mentions and does a review of 70 different movies that are just absolutely wonderful. And obviously Stephen's a movie producer, not a writer. He was inspired by Neil Donald Walsh, who is a writer. I think people are familiar with his work. He's done Conversations with God. And Stephen and Neil are friends, and they're working right now on The Indigo Child, releasing a movie called The Indigo, which will actually hit the movie theaters in January of 2005. So he's done some really wonderful work, and Neil noticed that Stephen was doing movies that would cause people to think deeper, and he went to him and he asked them if this was, by chance or if it was intentional, and he said, well, of course it's intentional, but he was noticing that a lot of these movies were not making it into mainstream films because mainstream films were pretty market driven. They had to be full-length feature films in order to get attention.
And rated also. And none of these are rated, because I know It's Bleep wasn't rated.
And so a lot of these films were not making it to mainstream, and he really wanted to get the message from young film producers to be able to get them out to audiences like ours, like my movie group, that want to see films that will move their spirit. And so this is what he did, is he kind of broke away from mainstream and started to look at producing these films, and it has just been a wonderful thing. Since I started my movie group as an audience-based group in February of 2004, June of 2004, the ISE was formed. So the Institute for Spiritual Entertainment was formed formally, which helps guide us as audiences and groups that are doing this.
So how does a group like yours work?
Well, I just basically started out, mine was one of the first 3 that actually came into being. And so it was very much an icebreaker project. And since then, there's been probably 70 to 80 groups that have popped up internationally now. There's actually some groups in Australia, I believe. So I'm on a coordinator phone call about every quarter of the year with Stephen Simon and all the other movie coordinators nationwide. So people can actually go to spiritualcinemacircle.com
And that'll be on our bottom right here.
Yeah, and they can find their area. Basically, they can put in their zip code, I believe, and that will lead them to whatever group is in their area. And then if they want to, on a Boise local level, they can actually go to Yahoo Groups and type in Spiritual Cinema or Soulful Cinema Club, and then sign up for the local group.
Or you can also contact our web page, because we'll have information about that on our site also.
Okay.
So does this group meet once a month?
Once a month, we meet on the Saturday following the first Friday of each month. And it has just been wonderful. I've had people of all different walks of life show up, from ministers to metaphysical people to, all different realms of people that have shown up. And what's wonderful about it is you would think if you sat someone, those 2 people next to each other, you might have conflict. And what's really happened is that they've all realized that we have more in common than we do in conflict. And in that, we all believe in a higher power, and we all believe that we're here to bless each other, and that we're all connected somehow. So it's been fun.
All of these movies are sent to you, and then you show them, 4 a night?
Yeah.
Possibly?
Well, actually, it wasn't. When I started my group, the Cinema Circle did not exist, and that's only been within the last 5 months. And so when I started the group, I started it based on Stephen's book and just chose from the list of 70 that are in his book. And then they created the Cinema Circle, where now movie producers can go and submit films to the board, and then they review these movies so that they can put them on DVDs, which actually go out to the groups now. So that completes the circle of them producing the films as well as us watching them.